Yo, what's going on, people? We're back again. WrestlePurists worldwide. I'm joined by Joe Hulbert and Ibu, backup Hangman, as many of you may know him. We're going to be talking Elimination Chamber, Mercedes Monet's debut in New Japan, well, in-ring debut, and some other stuff as well. But first things first, please like, subscribe, super chat if you're feeling generous as always, and going to go around see how everyone's doing. Joe, start with you. How you doing today? How was your weekend?
Tremendous, Monty. I mean, wrestling. I'm very wary, I should say, both really at this point about this program veering into us kind of just coming on and being like enjoy all wrestling and throwing out like hearts. But seriously, that was a fucking incredible weekend of wrestling, man. There was so much to like and so much
Good
variety. Like
people.
I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but this weekend was an extreme example of that. So I'm very, very good, and things on the WrestlePurists front are pretty good too, right? As we saw yesterday, Monty. So very good, mate. Fired up.
Yeah, man. Backup Hangman. The you're the only person who really calls yourself the CEO, but
Yeah, no,
let him
I'm
have
not.
it. Then.
No, AO is the CEO. I'm the president of WrestlePurists.
No one calls it you though. But
You
again,
know,
how was your
I'm,
weekend? How you doing? You know,
weekend was pretty good. I'm feeling physically good, which isn't always the case. Kurt
the
Angle,
whole
Kurt
body
Angle,
breaking down.
a little bit. Kurt Angle neck and bad knee and shoulder and all
The
that.
knees, not the
Yeah,
knees.
yeah, man. I got the Muto knees, man. But they're doing it's a day by day thing, brother. But they're doing pretty good today. Uh, I'm in a good mood, man. I watched a lot of wrestling over the last 2 days, and I enjoyed almost all of it. Uh,
Yeah,
to
man.
varying degrees, of
Mm-hmm.
course, and we'll get
Yeah,
into
as
everything.
always.
But I had a good time with all the wrestling that I watched, and that's why we made the executive decision to start worldwide early to get into everything. So happy to do that. It's been pretty cool, and man, we're live and we're worldwide.
Happy days, happy days. Hope everyone in the live chat's
Absolutely.
doing good. Of course, this is the big one. No Manny tonight. That is not true. Manny will be here.
He's coming
It's just
soon.
because we started early, so
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna catch up and he's gonna do a run in and he's gonna stick around. So Manny will be here eventually. So he's probably happy that he's missing the Fed talk because we're gonna talk some WWE. We're gonna get into Elimination Chamber. Um, Montreal. Their hero. He couldn't get the job done on he couldn't get the job done on Saturday. A lot of people disappointed. A lot of people think it's the right decision. It's kind of one of those things that split a lot of people's opinions. Whether
Right.
Sammy should be the world champion, whether he should be main eventing, should it be a triple threat? There's all kinds of everyone's kind of got slightly different takes. I feel on it. So yeah, Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns, main event Elimination Chamber on Saturday night. Roman Reigns got the win after distractions and distractions. Jay didn't turn on Sami.
Right.
It was more rather Sami accidentally speared Jey Uso, and that took Jey Uso out of the equation. And I guess that'll kind of we'll see what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks with TV. Kevin Owens came back after the match as well. But what do you think of this direction going in at the moment, Joe?
Well, before I go any further, I think it's always important when we do these conversations. I want to know that I don't watch the weekly TV, right? So my
Mm.
understanding is much more broad strokes than you guys. I know Ibu and I have had a lot of conversations about what he perceives to have been the long-term direction that I can't speak to because I haven't watched it, right? Does that make sense? So I guess a big thing for me was I never saw this being the time for Sammy to win because to me, the choice was already made, right? Like, if they were going to go with Sammy, it probably was going to have to happen in WrestleMania. And I know that the Montreal part complicated that. But now that you've already gone with Cody, you either are going to end up with a triple threat or you're going to end up with Cody and Sammy, which was even weirder, right, in its own way. So it's like,
Yeah.
I never really expected the title change. I liked the match a lot until the finish. I have no problem with the result. And in some level, I even appreciate and I'm glad they continue to kind of. Jay's character is the most interesting to me. So I'm glad on some level they didn't just do a swerve, and did kind of the easy thing out. But in some ways, what they did was even easier because they didn't really do anything, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
much as I like the meat of the match, and I really did like it, I just don't think that was the reaction they were looking for in the finish at all. That was, to me, that was like really a flat final note. And I'm aware of how silly it sounds to call that finish flat because it had like 18 run-ins. But man, it felt flat. felt like anticlimactic in a weird way. So didn't love the finish at all, even though I get the result. As for the match itself, I genuinely really liked it. But
I think it's because I think the finish kind of played out similar to kind of how a lot of Roman Reigns' defenses have, and this one felt different. And obviously the Jay element, even though the Jay thing would have been the easy thing to do with the double swerve, I think like it kind of would have been just. It's how else do you make it different to just another Roman Reigns defense, you know?
Right.
I think that just kind of hurt it a bit. People were expecting at least something like that. I think Montreal were probably ready to boo the shit out of Jay.
I agree,
you know? And they didn't get that, and they just got the same old Roman hit spear after distractions. And you know, he silenced Montreal. It was kind of like like sports reactions where, you know, the home team loses and it's like, you know, they're not booing, they're just been silenced. I won't class it as just kind of like no reaction like I've seen some people. You know, because obviously silence, you know, but you know, then I've
go on, keep going.
No, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I guess it depends. I guess it just depends, like, how you perceive what you just described. Is that a success or not? Right? Like, that could be very dramatic when a sports crowd goes dead quiet. But to me, wrestling drama is different and is a lot more expansive and theatrical, obviously. So to me, I think they were looking for, like, vociferous boos and actual heat. And I don't think they got that. That's just my read on it. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Yeah,
that would have been the most ideal, 100%. Where are you at with it all, Ibu?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, right. We can.
So with the match itself, it's like almost hilarious how much I feel like it's a bit of a shade of gray of work and shoot when it comes to just Roman Reigns. He has no issue taking his time getting to where he wants to get to when it comes to like his approach to wrestling. And like it works in a like you're such a dickhead heel, but it's also like the real Roman just like clearly like on some level thinking like I've made it to the zenith of the medium and I'm so over I can just get away with doing this and this is the right way to do main event wrestling. And I think it's that. I think it's a bit of like I have a Hollywood career that I'm pursuing and I don't want to hurt myself, so why even work hard? But it just results in this really funny situation where like you'll see him kind of like meander and take his time and ham it up and look at the fans and talk shit and like, you know, throw an uppercut once every like 90 seconds and you know that kind of it's like hilarious. But it was to the biggest degree here where they got away with it because that's so much heat, you know, like we got like F you Roman chants for like 5 minutes straight or whatever. Felt like they took a year to lock up.
Yep.
But again, it was so much heat that like they got away with it. Parts of this match kind of felt, especially on rewatch, like CM Punk versus John Cena and Money in the Bank, because you know that match got 5 stars from Dave Meltzer, and it's like really, really memorable. It's really well lauded, and it's because there was a great storyline going in, and crazy atmosphere in the guy's hometown, went really long, and then ultimately the babyface won. Right, that's why that match really. But like work wise, it's about like a 3.5, 3 3/4, to be honest with you, if you take out the atmosphere and all that. But that's why we do wrestling. It's the total package, right? Similarly here, I thought that like you know when it comes to the actual moves and things like that, like they had a fine wrestling match. But the atmosphere and everything was just explosive. Hold on.
Yeah, no, just quickly on that, because I saw you be talking about this earlier, and this is sounds like a genuine interest in wrestling conversation. Probably not the week for it because we have a lot to talk about, but
right.
I think some people can separate those two, which I cannot. To me, that's one recipe. You know what I mean? So, like the wrestlers are reacting to the crowd. So Roman's wrestling that way because they have the. I know you know this, but I'm just was filling that in because that is a genuine debate, and it's just a subjective thing. I know for some people, it's like, yeah, the crowd was hot, but the match sucked. It's like to me, unless the match is like actively bad, they're together. You know, they're one thing. But that's just
absolutely, and it's why sometimes I get really annoyed when people go like, "If you watch this on mute, how good would it be?" Well, I'm not watching it on mute, and I never will watch wrestling on mute. And it's a part of the experience that you work to get reactions, you work to get over. The matches are supposed to get over, and so it's like a psychosomatic experience where you're watching it and you're taking it all in. So again, look, to me, I thought this was like. WWE minimalism where they worked a very, very simple match, right? You know, Sami Zayn is getting massive cheers for doing diving axe handles, which like it's hilarious. Like he goes to the top rope and it's like boom axe handle 1981, and the crowd is like, yeah, like, oh my god. And then he's hitting the ropes, and Roman's like uppercut, and the fans are like, fuck you. You know, I had fun with it. You know, he talks shit to the wife and stuff. That this like was paced like a New Japan main event, and people thought like I was a fucking crackhead. And like I just to explain that, I mean like in the sense that you know, very much a deliberate slow build, but like one that's like intentionally so, and it's setting up so that it peaks late. And the only difference is instead of a closing stretch of like, you know, almost majestic finisher counters, it's more so like big kickouts and like interference and shenanigans and ref bumps. It's the Roman main event formula. I wouldn't say it didn't work here. I am at a point now where I'm ready for someone to overcome the Roman bullshit. You know what I mean? Like the ref bumps, USO interference and stuff like that. Good thing is someone is going to overcome it in a month. Regarding the finish and like the Jay stuff, I would have preferred a more conclusive thing to happen here with Jay. In the sense of this, I get that there's 6 weeks of TV remaining. I get that they want to have certain things that you can use on the weekly TV to make it interesting on a week-to-week basis. Totally get that. And so if you want to prolong the KO hug or the J turn, I can understand wanting to do that. But at the same time, we are in Montreal on this night. You know, it's a big pay-per-view on this night. And so it's like Royal Rumble closed so powerfully with an amazing angle, right? And I felt like with this one, it was almost like too inconclusive.
Yeah, it was too reserved, you know?
Too reserved. Yeah, at least give me one of the two. Either KO and Sammy definitively hug and reunite to close the show, or Jay makes a decision of some kind on this night. And they did neither. And so it was just like, all right. And then they did successfully look. A lot of people are floating that tweet around of Roman silencing the fans with the pin, and that did happen. But you know, to the credit of everyone involved, that's not how the show ended. They did get the crowd back when KO ran back. He ran wild. He put Jimmy through a table. You know, we got a haluva kick on Roman Reigns and stuff like that. So they did win the fans back. It wasn't like the crowd revolted because, frankly, I think this Montreal wrestling fans now are more mature than they've ever been. I think that they were pretty aware and accepting of the fact that Sammy is probably not winning this match. So they didn't like riot or anything. But like you said, Joe, I think it was you who said it. I think they were willing and ready to like boo Jay Uso. You know, they're ready to like blame him for losing out on this. And so the fact that they weren't given that reason to, I think we're now left with a bit of an awkward situation going into Raw where we now have to like kind of direct Sammy in that direction so that he's out of Cody's way. But right now it's a bit of a weird one in terms of steering that. And so I'm curious how they handle this. They did it well last week with Cody and Sammy. I don't know what they're going to do this week because they're still in Canada. But that's where I'm at with the match. I thought it was overall a very good match. You know, Sammy's comebacks were really good. On rewatch, like his comebacks, his babyface fire, his punches all looked good. You know, he's not physically the wrestler he was 6 years ago at all. But at the same time, he still gets it. If that like he still gets it. You know,
sure, yeah.
So yeah. Roman is what he is at this point. You know what I mean? Big entrance, big aura. You know, he's a real performer. As a worker, he's just gonna do. He picks his spots essentially. So that's my thoughts.
I mean, he's definitely gonna pick his spots. I thought. Listen, I know Roman's gonna do what Roman does. You know,
yeah.
Like Ibby's been talking about. He's got his formula. He's gonna do it. But I do think. In Montreal on Saturday, he kind of took the piss a bit, you know. He's always going to let the moment breathe, slow things down, and stuff like that. And he's going to lean into the crowd. You know what I mean? But sometimes I thought he was leaning into the crowd so much at points and not giving them enough in return. You know, then they'd get so excited when Sammy would try to get the comeback in. And obviously he would do his cut-offs. But like because he wasn't giving them like anything I don't know, man. It was
Yeah.
like I said, I normally do have the patience for these like the Roman heat segments and him building towards his finishes and stuff, and just him doing the way that he does, and I do enjoy it a lot of the time. But I just think, like I said, I reckon in Montreal he took the piss a bit. I thought he was just leaning into it a bit too much and not
It would
giving
be,
enough back in between, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
I agree 100%. I think it would be, and I said someone who really likes his work generally and like this match a lot. It would be nice if there was like a little more substance to what he does in a heat segment, right?
Yeah.
Like if he's going to take 15 minutes of a match, I don't need him to be like Arn Anderson working Sammy's arm, but like something would be nice to have like as a theme throughout the match, whether it's like
just a little
goes up for a
something,
bump.
man.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys
I agree.
noticed. There used to be, if you go back to the beginning of the Tribal Chief run, he did work a little harder in the ring. Around like the John Cena match is when he was just like, all right, I'm going to just talk shit. He point the finger, and then after about 15 to 20 minutes, then we'll do the finishers and the barricade breaks.
Barricade breaks.
It's other finishers, barricade breaks, ref bump. They get the babyface gets the visual pin. It's like the same thing, but yeah, like if you go back to like his like earlier matches, like with Jey Uso or like Bryan Danielson, there is a bit more. There's a bit more going on there. He dropped the guillotine that he used to do. He used to do the guillotine, and a couple other things. But yeah, like I said, for me, right, even if he takes this exact approach with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, I'm still probably going to like the match purely only because the babyface will overcome the bullshit. It's going to be very satisfying and cathartic when, an Uso or a Solo comes in and that doesn't work. And Heyman tries to hit Cody with a belt and that doesn't work. And a barricade breaks and that doesn't work. And ultimately, like after all this fucking bullshit, it's like crossroads, get the fuck out of here.
Tears, confetti, dusty.
I'm convinced that Jay is the finish at Mania. I really am. I think that will be divisive, but I think Jay will actually do the thing that like they've been teasing. He'll actually do at WrestleMania. And that'll be the end of the reign. I'm convinced.
Hitting Roman or some shit.
Yeah, because I think night one will probably end with them losing the tag belts, and Jay kind of half redeeming himself with some kind of show of acknowledgement to Sammy, something like that. Some kind of signal. And then night two, it'll all come down to Jay has a choice to make, and he
makes his choice.
Finally escapes kind of Roman's career. That's my guess. And I think that, look,
you know what?
as a fan of what Jey Uso has been in the story, I think that's actually pretty compelling personally. But
real quick, before you respond, I could feel him eager to get back on that one. Mr. Hank 199, amazing match. Folk hate the formula, but it works. I mean, they're still selling out stadiums, and he's still top of the card, so it's hard to dispute that. Showtime Spurs $5 appreciated. Just want to give props to Sammy's wife. That he loved you line she said to Roman was perfect. It's a drama, bro. That WWE drama, Andrew the Giant, £5. I don't know the answer to this, but what are the similarities between Roman and WCW Hogan?
That's
not a lot.
Comparison. Not a lot.
Not a lot. Also, Money.
Speaking of Hogan,
one second. Young Blue Justice, not the police kind.
Man, he got a haircut.
That's the name Manny's rolling with today.
Yeah, man, he's looking trimmed up, man. Yeah.
How are you, Chief?
Good. I didn't get a haircut. My hair is just in a bun. Multiple buns.
I'm guessing that the comp would be like the bloodline would be like Hogan's NWO, I guess. Right? Would be the comp, which
I don't know, man.
I guess
I don't see it, man.
Hogan's matches were.
Tell us what you're seeing, Andrew. Tell us what you're seeing.
Hogan's matches in WCW they weren't like, oh, that was a little boring. They were like very, very.
That's the thing, right? So see, modern fans are so spoiled, right? Because they'll see Roman work a 3 3/4 main event that's long and has the shit, right? And they're like, fuck, man, these Roman main events. Bro, if you see like Hogan Piper's steel cage match like Halloween Havoc, bro, or like some of the efforts that this man would give you to close a show that would be opened by Rey Mysterio and Chris Benoit, you would be like, what is going on here? Like, if you were to make, like, if Roman were to do, like, bro, can you imagine if Tribal Chief Roman was having literal duds in the main event of pay-per-views?
Right, because that's what Hogan was doing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Having literal guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What else was on the Elimination Chamber card? Men's Elimination Chamber. A lot of people seem to be happy with that one.
Good.
What did you think of it, Joe?
I mean, it was fun, right? It was very.
That's kind of fun on that.
I like. I really like Montez Ford. I think he's like an actual. I think he's a guy that's genuinely worth pushing as a potential top guy. So I was very happy to see what he got here.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking destroyed each other here, and they like put a lot into it. So and I would never call it anything less than good because it was. The crowd loved it. It wasn't really my thing. Would be the best way to explain it. Like I personally preferred the Women's Chamber, and I get that's like
really. That's
like I just didn't get into it at all, and part of that is like just to be totally transparent. I don't care about like any of these people other than Ted, so I was happy to see him there. But this lineup was not built for my excitement or happiness, so that's fine. But the crowd loved it, so there you go. That's wrong, Matt.
So he knows the funny thing. I saw a lot of people really low on this match going into the match, right?
Yep.
And I personally didn't get it because I was like, yeah, like most of these people are pretty good, you know, to a degree, I think. And so my whole thing watching this was like, I want to see people leave the match with higher stock than they went going in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that Johnny Gargano had his best main roster showing in this match. I thought that Montez Ford looked really, really fucking good. And frankly, someone who I'm pretty hard on consistently, Bronson Reed, did also very well in this match. What I would describe this chamber match is like an NXT takeover version of a chamber match.
Yeah.
And that could be seen derogatorily, that could be seen as a compliment. The way I see it is just what it is. It's an NXT takeover chamber match. And I think that a little bit of NXT on main roster WWE is a good thing. Too much is overwhelming and sensory overload. Not enough, and it's just too boring. A bit is fine, you know. And the Raw mid card, having these guys just do a bunch of creative, cool shit, it's totally fine. I thought this was the match of the night when I first watched the show. I actually thought this was the best WWE match of the year when I first watched the show. Like you said, Montez was great. I feared for the safety and well-being of a lot of people as this match was going on. It was very dangerous, in a thrilling way, but also in like a whole like, oh my god. But yeah, really good match. Austin Theory retained, which is unfortunate. I kind of wanted, at some point I was beginning to actually believe in Johnny Gargano right before he got eliminated. And I almost felt like they should have audibled him to the finish. I don't think Theory versus Cena needs a title. I don't really get what the U.S. title is going to have to do with that story.
You're dropping it to Edge tonight, brother. You know?
He's not. And Finn Balor's going to fuck Edge over. Yeah, I don't really get it personally. The Logan Paul thing was very well done with him screwing Seth Rollins over. I think that's going to probably be one of those like really fun blockbuster, athletic matches at this WrestleMania. It just works as a matchup for me. But yeah, I like this.
Oh, we got a super chat. Rob 199 WCW 94 Hogan. So 94 Hogan or WWF Mabel Daughter.
What?
What?
What? Somebody try to overcomplicate a joke and you confuse yourself.
Yeah, just appreciate it though. Yeah.
Hogan was bad in '94 and Mabel was bad too.
Yeah, it's all bad, It's not fun,
He said what?
Joe, you said you liked the women's elimination chamber more than the men's. Why?
Well, I thought it was much.
I'm not that soon to be blunt,
that was very aggressive.
Yeah. He's like,
I thought it was much tighter in terms of the way it was produced. I thought they sequenced stuff well enough that it wasn't overwhelming. I didn't actively look at the time and ask why this was still going on once, which happened multiple times in the other match. And I just thought it was very well produced. I thought they made the most of everyone involved in the match. There were certain people in the match that I was concerned about in that setting, and I thought they protected them well. I thought Liv had a really good performance. And more importantly, it's like where they ended up was where I think they needed to get. The only critique I had for the women's chamber was I think I have no issue with Carmella, but I think it was very hard to buy that Carmella was ever going to win the chamber, right? Because firstly, she's wrestled Bianca like 400 times, and also it's just not the role for her. I think they'd have been well served to put a runner-up that was more believable. Even if it was someone like Raquel, who you could like kind of convince yourself maybe Triple H would go that direction, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
When it was Carmella, it's like Carmella's not winning the chamber, you know? So I mean, they could have squeezed a little more drama out of Asuka's win, but ultimately we all know where they were going. And Asuka was the right choice. And they presented everyone well in that match. I think to a different level, what you said, Ibu, about the men's match was actually relevant here. I think most parties came out of this better for it. And it was just a sort of more shorter, condensed, tighter edit, in my view. But that was just my personal preference.
Going into this match, I looked at the field and I was like, oh boy. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Raquel was the only person I was worried about as a fan rooting for Asuka, you know? Because I was like, oh, Hunter does like her. I hope they don't do nothing stupid. Asuka felt like the obvious winner in this match, but like when you watch the WWE pay-per-view, there's always that fear of like something really stupid happening. And so it's like, which is why even when it got to Carmella, like I kid you not, Monty, I was like, they're gonna swerve me, aren't they? They're gonna do some stupid shit and swerve. I was like, you know what?
That's crazy, bro.
They think we know that Asuka's winning, so they're gonna just swerve me in the end. You know? The thing is, see, when I watch other companies, I don't worry about that because they just do what makes sense usually. But like sometimes I feel like there's always that fear. But look, Asuka won. I thought this was fine. Liv Morgan is getting better at this point. I think that if you're being fair, you should acknowledge that if you watch this. Her sunset powerbomb off the apron was, off the pod was an awesome spot. And Asuka won, so look, no complaints from me. You know, Asuka's great. Her versus Bianca is going to be, it should be great.
Yep.
That's going to be 3 straight great WrestleMania matches for Bianca Belair. If anything, what I'm worried about is the TV build because Asuka's not like a TV angles person like that, and Bianca isn't really either. So like that feels like a recipe for a can they coexist build, which doesn't sound appealing. But the match itself should be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. It's not Bianca's going to go 3 for 3 for great Mania matches. You know, she's going to. I'm sure Triple H is probably going to like portray her as Miss WrestleMania. You know, as long as he's got the keys, because it's kind of something already set up for him. From Vince's time anyway, because she already had 2 like classes. Probably the 2 best women's matches in Mania history of those 2 Bianca Belair matches. So
yeah,
if she can hit another top 3 one, then I think everyone's expecting a really great match with that one.
For sure.
Brock versus Bobby was interesting. They just kind of they threw bombs for like 4 minutes, and then there was a DQ, and I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know if everyone remembers it as vividly as I do, but at one point this was like one of the big matches in the business that we hadn't got.
Yeah,
like, what would happen? You know, and it's like, I'll tell you what would happen. The rest were about a combined 14 minutes over 3 matches, and like didn't have one satisfying finish. They've not had one satisfying finish over these 3 matches. I think there's kind of a general perception or belief that means they're blow it off at Mania, which I mean, that's fine. I don't really can't imagine being particularly excited for that though, right? Like part 4 of this, man. I don't know.
Joe, it's funny. Like it should be so much simpler. Like Brock, Bobby as a concept, kill each other, and then you pick a fucking winner. That's it. The issue with this program is that they've had an issue with just picking a decisive winner because they do love Bobby and protect Bobby, and they don't want to beat Brock. But now it's resulted in, like you just said, 3 straight unsatisfying finishes, with this one probably being the worst. A low blow, DQ, and then Brock, to get his heat back, has to shoot on a ref. Like, what are we doing here? For the record, I don't know if anyone knows that. The second F5 on a referee was allegedly not planned.
That's the second time he's done it, bro. He done it at the Rumble.
I'm telling you, man. I've been bullish on this.
He just does what he wants.
I've been bullish on this for a while. I'm not convinced that Brock is long for this particular incarnation of WWE. I'm convinced of it until I've said this to everyone on this screen at some point or another, on air and off. Something weird is going to happen with Brock contractually.
He walked out when Vince retired.
Bro, we're going to see some weird shit. I'm telling you.
You want to know some actual insight?
Yes, I do, very much.
Sure. There's some tension, brother, between Mr.
Ibu, you got to sort your mic out, bro. It keeps swinging. It's driving
you dropped out. You dropped out at the start of the scoop. Yeah, go on.
No. All right, am I back? Hunter's not a big
He's
Brock
doing
guy.
it again, bro.
No. All right, hold on. I'm gonna fix it.
Is this
Is
a
this
bit?
guy? Yeah, like, is this guy just like some old
It's the
like
start of the scoop every
moron?
time.
Like,
It's the
Hunter
scoop
has a
every
mute
time.
button for him.
Yeah.
he puts his earphones in, they're swinging all over the place while he's running around the fucking house washing his underwear. Like, it's
This
just
is like
crazy, bro.
Not
What
this
are
is
we
happening.
like when
doing?
this is like
It's
when
just my
Kevin Feige
AirPods.
hires
These are my
somebody.
AirPods.
Okay, let's try this again. Go ahead, Ibu. Oh no, never mind. All right, well, fair. Here we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sound good.
Okay, so
Yes.
now I was just saying, this is like basically people's interpretations of what they see, right?
Mhm.
But essentially, dating back to when they worked the program with each other, there's a bit of a feeling of Hunter kind of going, "What's so fucking great about Brock?" And and people think that he subtly wants to just humble him. In general, which is why I don't know if you notice this, a lot of Brock appearances on Raws are surprise angles and not announcing him before the show, because in WWE you announce a guy that you think, oh, he's a big draw, it's gonna pop a number. Many Brock appearances, like, yeah, just throw Brock on and let him pop the people. But anyways, so going further from that, I think him walking out definitely pissed him off. That in the summertime was seen as disrespectful. And look, he's not going to bury Brock as Brock Lesnar, right? But like, people do think like, yeah, there's like a little something there, and so like it affects things and shit like that.
I've always viewed it as he's got used to behaving a certain way because Vince would always pay that dude whatever he wanted and treat him however he wanted to be treated.
Mhm.
And I think Triple H, what we know of him as a booker, I think instinctively his response will be, we don't really need Brock in that spot. Now, they would like to have Brock, right? It's fucking Brock, like, obviously. But I don't think he's nearly as desperate to be like, whatever you say, Brock, the way Vince would. Vince had an insane weakness for him in the last 10 years, right? Like, it was like, without foul, if they're in a pinch, they go back to Brock. So I've been convinced of this for a while, and I don't know nothing. I know a lot less than Ibu. But I think he's a name to watch this year in terms of where he'll end up. Because desperate times, brother. It only takes...
Oh, man.
Tony could convince himself to pay Brock some crazy money if a rating comes in a certain number. He could be like, well, it's time,
It's
Darby, I need you to bump
few
me.
more super chats though before we continue.
Yeah.
Zootopia production for 99, appreciate you. So I stopped watching wrestling for a year after the 2015 Rumble. Bryan versus Brock was the biggest dream match for WrestleMania 31. Would Bryan versus Brock being better than Roman versus Brock?
Zootopia, do I have some news for you, brother? That match happened, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
Happened in 2018. Go check it out. Survivor Series 2018. It's a tremendous match.
I will say, though, the actual the Roman Brock WrestleMania 31 match is really good. It's like their best match by distance.
fucking
Obviously,
fire.
everyone remembers the finish, right? But the actual meat of the match is tremendous. So, but yes, Bryan and Brock.
They
was
never
fucking
replicated that from a straight up traditional wrestling standpoint.
Yeah,
never
no,
came close. To be honest.
Nowhere near.
But, Andrew the Giant, £5. I don't know the answer to this, but what's the similarities between Brock Lesnar and WCW?
Okay, there are similarities there. Actually, there wasn't with Roman, but I could give you this. There is the mentality of walking in the day of the show in the building, and if you don't feel like doing something, not doing it. I don't know if you guys know this. Do you guys remember the Ricochet Saudi match?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
that match was supposed to go a couple minutes. It got shortened to like suplex squash because Brock was like, "I'm wrestling who? No."
Yeah.
And then just it's like, I'm not bumping her. What the fuck?
Hogan, at least he would just like walk around the ring to make sure he got like, he at least would log in 10 minutes so Bishop wouldn't be on his case. Build my time, brother.
Yeah, no, he listen, Brock will not sell for people that he doesn't respect. The problem with Brock is he doesn't watch wrestling. So like he may just not respect people that he just hasn't seen. But that also makes it funny because he does like Styles and Bryan, which is why he sold for them. I don't know what his background research on those guys are. I don't know if Heyman has an iPad and he's like, this is AJ Styles, the phenomenal one.
probably.
Yeah, right.
Send the
The
TNA
Heyman
best of.
files, bro.
The
you know.
Heyman files.
Send me
Well,
the
why-
TNA
bro.
DVDs.
But
Yeah.
yeah, pylons $2 coming up. Brock Lesnar versus Darby Allin in 2024.
unironically would be the match of the year.
Be incredible. I mean, if you could convince Brock, and you'd have to get Heyman on this one, I think. But if you could get Brock like motivated to wrestle Kenny Omega, they would have like an insane match, like a preposterous match. Now, again, I don't know how Brock would approach that match.
Hold on.
You may need to like explain it to him why it would be a big deal. But if he was in the right mood, they could have a special match. So there's a couple fun ones. But I don't
there's it's Brock Lesnar, bro. You know,
Yes.
there's no one like him in the business. So
Indeed.
just off that alone, like the dream matches, they wrote themselves. Ben Dixon $2, appreciate you. How many rows into the crowd can Brock throw Darby?
Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be outrageous. I mean, that's the best one too, because like some of these matches, you kind of get into that territory of, well, are you going to ask Brock to do a job, which he's absolutely not going to do? Darby absolutely doesn't have to. If Darby gets one moving on Brock, he'd be like, holy fuck, right? Like he hits like the code red or whatever on him. Yeah,
it would take like 7 dives to make him like move.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like that's the thing. If Brock stood on the outside and Darby did his like torpedo dive, like it wouldn't move Brock, and it would be like a crazy spot. Like, oh my god, it didn't even move him.
Yeah,
Jesus
we need to see this one.
This would literally imagine this gorilla press. Wait, what's the press where you're just holding their body like horizontally up vertically? Is it
gorilla? Yeah.
If he gorilla pressed Darby in the ring and just threw him into the crowd, he genuinely could fly that nigga like 5 rows back.
Darby would go with it as well, bro. You know?
Yes.
It's just it.
Yeah, man. He's game. You know. Oh, what else are we talking about on Elimination Chamber? We've done the 2 chambers.
Can I say something about Bray Wyatt real quick?
Yeah, go on. I guess.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I would be like way harsher on the Brock Bobby finish. But I need to see what does this mean for Mania, in the sense that if this means I don't have to watch Bray fight one of these guys, bring on Bobby Brock 4.
Yeah.
Listen, if my choices are right, last man standing, Brock Bobby, or Firefly Funhouse match, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. I mean, you know, I'd rather Bray just fuck around with Uncle Howdy for 5 minutes and order some food.
Imagine that shit. Imagine he gets like cinnamon and his like Amanda McClaw and just puts it in Bobby Lashley's mouth.
I'm saying there's no chance it's good. There's no chance it's good. You know, so I'd rather Bray fuck around in his Bray verse with Uncle Howdy for 5 to 10 minutes. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. You know, the people that like it are gonna like it. I'm gonna go order some food, and I'll come back in time for the for the weekend's performance or some shit.
Yeah. Israel, First Lady of WrestlePurists, 199. Don't Go Live better. Don't Go Live's the best podcast on this channel. So
it's a great show.
No shame in it. Bree Woo, 499. Just tuning in. Brock versus Eddie Kingston. Who respects who? Could you imagine?
King's promo on that, because they debuted like at almost the exact same time, which is fucking hilarious because they couldn't have more different careers, you know? Like Eddie just letting out 20 years of hate and resentment on Brock Lesnar, who's just like shrugging his shoulders, oblivious as to who this gentleman is.
Could you imagine? You man, Eddie? I fought my whole life, partner. I'm a real wrestler, partner. I'm a wrestler.
He would do the deal where he comes out of like his fists up, like he's fucking boxing Holyfield. You know, Brock would like take him down and just immediately kick the shit out of him. It'd be wild, man.
You know Brock would love Eddie Kingston.
Bro, one shot from King and the place would go crazy.
Eddie looks up, who's this fat piece of shit, Paul? And
Paulie being there would unlock a new level to that feud too, because like you'd have the segment where Paulie's kind of scared of Eddie, right? Like, you don't doubt that. They do the underdog shtick, like you can't doubt him, you know. He's got the back fist, and
I know you, Paulie. Yeah. I heard about you. I heard about you.
About like security throwing King out of the ECW arena in like 1998 or whatever, you know.
Too bad this is AEW. They don't do angles like that.
Ooh.
Anyway, not us, mate.
What else was on the show? Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. This was a good time, man. You know.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really have too much else to say about it. I don't know if any of you guys do.
It's fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, I assume Finn and Edge are working a singles Mania, right? I guess so. It would
I
probably
assume
make
so, yeah.
sense. I think it'd be cool to do Rhea and Beth in a singles on TV before Mania. And obviously, she's certainly booked for WrestleMania in her own thing. But on TV, that would be a cool deal, I think, to kind of wrap up her part of it. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But what did you make of the mixed tag?
Agree with you guys. This was actually my second favorite match of the show.
Tremendous.
I enjoy this program now. Judgment Day was an awful stable when they started, but they found this interesting middle ground of being like kind of self-aware and funny, but also like good foils to Edge. And I also think that they kind of like hone him into leaning into what's still good about him as a performer at this point. I think that Edge right now, just being a hot tag, is pretty productive, like a productive use of him, rather than a broader, heavier, big, dramatic match. Edge just kind of being the guy to charge in and do spears and like do the execution really worked for this match. Dominic is pretty invaluable as part of this act, which is funny considering like how bad he still is. But like him being bad is like weaponized to the advantage of like just the Judgment Day. Super heated match. The women did really, really good. I thought the Beth Phoenix Rhea Ripley stuff was really entertaining. They're like lariating each other like it was a 2015 Ishii match. Like they were just trading lariats and not selling it and stuff. That's pretty beast. Balor's smooth. I still enjoy Finn Balor, to be honest, as a wrestler. You think he's just an absolute pro. His shit still looks good. So yeah, I thought this was a really fun tag match. This is my second favorite match of the night.
Right, a couple super chats again. Anwar with $5. Is Manny a work rate merchant and has Backup Hangman ever had his camera on? I'm starting to think his spot is hella dirty or he is NORE.
My spot is not dirty. I don't know what NORE means, and I was on camera once before. Yes. I was, yeah, briefly. Yeah.
Todd Bowley.
Hold up, Manny didn't answer. It was asked.
Yeah, are you a work rate merchant, Manny?
I'm a vibes merchant. I just go with what the feeling is.
Real wrestling fan. Todd Bowley, $5. If I'm Hunter, I'm paying $150 million to bring back Orph as a paying in. This one. I'm not a fan of that name at the moment.
I bet.
Todd Bowley. Orph as a pain. I'm all in on them. Paul Ellering, let's get it. But Todd Bowley, mate, need to get that name off the screen.
Monty, who do you put AOP with, man?
What was that?
I said, who you put AOP with? Like, what heel that you're pushing would you pair with them? Does theory?
No.
Does theory work for you?
New Heart Foundation.
They feel like theory grunts to me, man. They feel like post-mania theory.
Leo.
Fuck theory, man. It's like, he makes them uncool instantly. I like Orph as a pain, man, because I like fucking big, like just, tag teams that's just two big cunts that wax people,
Yeah.
There's not enough of them, It's like, like when Brody and Eric were a tag team. I just feel like tag teams like that are needed sometimes, But yeah, man, I don't know who I'd put them with. What heels have we got in WWE?
You could throw them with Theory. You could throw them with...
No.
Jesus Christ. The Judgment Day already a group. You could pair them with Jonah if you want a fat guy stable.
No.
You could... All right. SmackDown's Legato's already in a group. Walter's in a group. Karrion Kross, that sounds horrible. You could do Jay White if he comes in, if you want to do that. That could maybe.
If they're coming in, they're coming in with Paul Ellering, it sounds like. So
I haven't wrestled him for years, guys.
I know.
They just gotta be big,
Well, I mean,
big, they wear the vest, I mean, I'm all in.
They look good they look good in the screenshot, you know what I mean? Just standing.
Yeah. Well, I like AOP a lot. I just don't know.
Joe.
Mate, go on.
Paul Ellering.
I like the Paul Ellering part. I just know if we can find some guys who have taken a bump in the last 3 years.
Manager of who? Former manager of who?
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Road Warriors.
Cool. But you know, they've been about as active as the Road Warriors as of late. So it is what it is. You know, you're going up. I just think at some point it may be time to let 2018 NXT go. That's what I'm suggesting. Sorry, scratch that. 2017 NXT.
Well, let's get. I like the gimmick.
I understand. I'm just saying we could find two other guys.
Yeah,
and put them
two
in
other guys. Let's get two big NXT guys. You know,
is there any young developmental heel Monty that they could pull from NXT to pair with them? Besides like fucking
Waller.
Not can't be him. Yeah.
Rob said Zion Quinn, which is
Oh
the worst idea ever, but I appreciate the 199 again.
There's a
Jesus
prospect.
Christ.
Jordan
Devlin, get the fuck out of there. Jesus, what are we?
You can put him with
Money, you haven't
again.
mentioned the Miz yet, Money. You haven't mentioned the Miz.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's a reason. Try not to remember him as much as I can. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh my God, Baron Corbin. His 17th repackaging. His 17th.
JBL. The Ellering thing might have to be mentioned. This is the project for JBL. We need to keep JBL around without Corbin. Authors of pain, bro. That's the way to go, I think. That might be the road.
God.
Talking about Hanson and Brody.
Jesus. What about Ciampa?
Well, hold on.
Yeah, you know. What about
I still feel like, I know they probably don't want to, but I still think on the main roster, just putting him and Johnny back together is like the clear move to me. I think that's
I can tell you that they were going to, you know, the reason why he was involved with Miz and Loomis and shit in the fall was because that was supposed to, you know, lead to that. Yeah, but then
you win some, you lose. So
you're telling me Triple H was going to do 2 tag team reunion angles on fucking main roster WWE?
Yes.
DIY and Stenerico.
Yes.
And both tag teams are famous for their tag team partners turning on them multiple times.
Yes.
Ben Dixon $2. Tony D gets some heavies.
I misread that the first time.
Because you're a freak, bro. You know? Anyway.
Thank you so much for the super chat, Ben.
Tony D, the family needs some more reinforcements, you know?
Oh my God. Yo, the other guy, what's his name? Stacks? He's he's kind of growing on me.
Oh, he's coming along, man. He's coming along.
They're like pushing
he's always been pretty good, like, on screen as a character, which is like, what does that mean when you're a pro wrestler? But like, you know, he's finding his feet as a wrestler. I wouldn't say he's good yet, but you know, you can plug him in tag matches and shit.
He's like winning matches and cutting promos now. like why?
He's good. He's good shit, man. I like it. I worry about the limitations it has on the main roster, but for now, you know, I'm popping for it. Yeah, man. Right, what else should we get into?
Wait. Someone in the comments said Dijak and AOP. That might work for me. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, just drop it.
Oh, come on.
Drop it. Done. You know,
all right, let's talk about Mercedes Monet, man.
Please, let's do that. Good idea.
It's Mercedes. Obviously, Mercedes. She made a New Japan. Match debut, her first match in New Japan at Battle in the Valley in San Jose, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone. Versus Corey, the former Corey Sam that was in WWE, the former Corey Hojo, you know, OWGP, World Heavyweight Women's Championship.
Works for me, brother.
It works for me. But yeah, man, I thought that obviously going into this, there was a lot of always seeing, like, you know, how well she's going to perform and stuff like that. She's not been in the ring for how many months, like 8, 9 months, something like that. You know, obviously she's going in there with like a very heavy reputation, especially for in-ring work. And it's kind of like the people who wanted to see what that should be like with no limitations within WWE. There's some people who thought, you know, she might not deliver to the expectations because people put the bar so high for her. And I honestly thought that the match over-delivered, honestly. But like, I'm always going into kind of things like this a bit reserved and try to like lower my expectations. So, You know what I mean? So I can be blown away. And that's exactly what I was on Saturday. I thought they killed it, man. It was our WrestlePurists match of the week. It was great shit, man. Obviously, Mercedes came away with the belt. She's the new IWGP Women's Champion. She's going to be defending it, I believe, on the Sumo Hall show, which is Sakura Genesis. Is it? I think
Sure.
it's one of those New Japan
Yeah,
pay-per-views. Yeah, man. I guess we got to wait and see who the opponent is. AZM from Stardom. She
Azumi.
called out.
Azumi.
Azumi.
Yeah,
You, you,
whatever.
you, you pulled a Mercedes
You
and she's in
did.
the press
You said
conference.
AMZ.
No, but she
Lucha.
did that, but the first time she did AZM,
Yeah,
you're
the first time
supposed to say it
she's
as
like,
Azumi.
yeah.
Okay. Well, she called out Mercedes, so that's looking like the Sumo Hall match. Obviously,
That,
I don't know too much about her. I'm not the big Stardom guy. Don't go live guys will get into it a lot more tomorrow. They'll do like a full review at the Battle in the Valley show, and you know what Mercedes going to be up to. We'll kind of more focus on the match from Saturday and just kind of Mercedes making a big debut and getting all the headlines and all that sort of stuff. I thought she made a really great account of herself, honestly. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Who wants to go
I
first?
oh, go ahead, Joe.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I just, you know, everyone gets swept up in the dreaded discourse at times, you know. And last week, I was previewing this with Jay Shell over on Late Night Grin, and we were talking about it. And the more I talked about it, I was like, "There's no fucking way this match isn't going to be great," you know. Like, there's just no way this match is going to be great because I've done this long enough to know that there are certain wrestlers who are in that caliber of like truly great pro wrestlers. And you're just well served to never kind of doubt them because they'll figure it out. You know, like when it counts, they'll hit big. And I was thinking about this situation. There's no way Mercedes is going to let this pass, but I still thought it exceeded it. I thought it was an unbelievable match. Like one of the most well-paced matches I've seen in recent memory. I think it was like 26 minutes. Folks, we were watching it on the air on the Late Night Grin, and we were like just swept up in it. Absolutely flew by for us in live. So it was a beautiful match. Obviously, I want to, you know, it's important to note how great Kyrie is. She's in the exact same bracket of what we just talked about in terms of great wrestlers of this kind of this generation, whatever. But it was a huge night for Mercedes' like legacy, which was already secure. I'm not in any, you know, I don't intend to do like it was do or die. No, fuck that. You know, she could have never have another good match in her life and she'd be a legend, right? Like her legacy is secure. But man, this was like it could be a pretty cool addition to that legacy and its own chapter, right? In some ways. So seeing what she did here, seeing her close the show of Okada, it was hard not to watch that presentation and say, man, the biggest conclusion was how happy you got to be for her, right? She gambled. She wanted to do this specific thing. She wanted to test herself and live the dream. And she's through night one, she nailed it. So beautiful match. I absolutely loved it.
I thought it was great. I wasn't. That's the thing, man. I'm really happy that I did not get swept up in this Mercedes doubt. Because here's my thing. I've never been really excited for a Mercedes Sasha Banks match that disappointed me. If nothing else, she's the person that wrestles above what you expect from a match. I mean, I've seen her have great matches with Carmella on pay-per-view, you know. So yeah, look, I had no doubt this was going to be sensational, and it was. Because no shit, literally no fucking shit. Anybody who is shocked by this you were overthinking it. People were like, oh, you know, like the long layoff. To me, I've seen her training with all these different people and stuff. I knew she was going to be fine, man. She's a professional wrestler and one of the best I've ever seen. So awesome match. It built and built and built. By the time we got the Bailey to belly, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. They went to the outside and we got that sick Kyrie power bomb. That was so cool. Right. Great submissions. Kyrie's elbow is still great. The only thing that Mercedes does that doesn't look great is her frog splash. It's a pretty ugly splash, but you know, that's fine. Yeah, this was awesome. And the funny thing about it is I think the match of the Azumi might be even more exciting. Azumi's the champion of the high speed division still, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we're going to get more Mercedes Lucha in that match because we've been seeing her training with, you know, the Juventudes of the world. She didn't do that much of it in this match. She did a little bit, not a lot. I think she's going to do a lot more against Azumi, and I'm really, really excited for that because that's going to be a match where it's probably going to be literally like 15 minutes of like balls to the wall wrestling and like high level chain counters and things like that. And I'm really excited to see Mercedes do that.
It's, you know, you mentioned about the ring rust element, and I definitely brought that up a couple of weeks back for sure. And the thing that kind of struck me was, while you're right about she's been in the ring and she's training and such, I think that's definitely important. The real reason she's able to kind of avoid that as a hurdle is while her offense looks good, and while she has some cool creative stuff, that isn't really why she's a great wrestler, right? Like she takes great bumps, but that isn't really why. Her understanding of structure, like the way she can build a match and take that length and like pace a match. She's one of the best in the world at that. And that's not a thing that we learned on Saturday. Let me be clear. Like I'm talking about this for a long time in terms of her wrestling brain is like really up there. Like her ability to place a cutoff, to feed a comeback, whatever it may be, whether she's babyface selling or she's the heel getting the heat. Like, and she obviously in a match like this, you're kind of doing both. It was like a blend in that way because it should be. It's a different product. But what I'm getting at is she just has such a great mind for layout and structure. She's able, even when her offense doesn't look the cleanest, it doesn't matter because she's got the broad strokes of the match laid out perfectly. You know, so she can she's always going to hit in that regard if given the time to do so. So very special.
That's the exact reason why I thought looking like I'm literally reminiscing as you're saying this when you're talking about just layout and things like that and structure. I think this is why she specifically got the most out of Bayley and Charlotte when you look back at their matches and why those matches are so great. Like I'm literally still remembering like just the late match finishing stretches and the submissions and things like that. What a great big match wrestler. Mercedes is great. I'm so excited. I'm so happy she's doing this. Manny, did you like the match?
I didn't watch it.
That's a new low. Manny the Hooper. That's shameful. Monty, find him now. Find him on the air.
Yeah, he's became too much of a gimmick.
Look at Manny.
Look
at Manny grinning behind his fist. Hold on.
He's
so proud of himself.
Man, did you watch Okada versus Tanahashi?
Yes.
Yo, I'm about to leave, bro. This is so you actively skipped it.
You skipped it.
I made a promise to myself. If she didn't show up on AEW, I wasn't gonna watch it. You know, all man has is his word.
Oh my God!
And,
wow. Wait, but why?
Wow.
Why? She didn't say she was going to show up in AEW. It's not like she was advertised. They hinted at it, but she never said shit about it unless I missed it.
Yo, I'm dizzy.
That was incredible, right? The grin on Manny's face like this.
Short-term Spurs, $2. So what does Monet do between now and April? Nothing.
Keep making rap videos.
Yeah,
we're literally making new rap songs.
Yeah, she'll some sort of creative because she's a extraordinaire entertainer.
Extraordinaire entertainer.
Bam, $5. Appreciate it. Everyone with CM Punk returning soon. If the Elite, all four most likely leaving. How's AEW's landscape look for 2024? And nowhere hope falls. Listen, bro. There's no actual like. It's don't buy too much into like the rumors, you know.
Yeah.
You know, coming in the live chat saying the Elite are all probably leaving. Like, you know, come on, let's wait until we see some proper reporting and stuff around it instead of just like kind of, group chat rumors and stuff like that, and people putting 2 and 2 together and getting 7 because contracts haven't been signed just yet, The Elite could all sign fucking deals like tomorrow, then like all kind of like these like quiet rumors that have been floating around group chats and stuff will just look so ridiculous, But at the end of the day, like who knows what's going to happen? But I wouldn't be going into it like assuming they're leaving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I totally get why things can escalate, and everyone gets like, depending on who you're a fan of, you can kind of feel a certain way, and that's absolutely fine. But on some level, it has to be one of those deals like, let's just cross this bridge when we get to it,
There's no point. There's nothing really to talk about. It's not like it can be like, Sean put on select that CM Punk's coming back and the Elite are unhappy. It's not that's not happening yet. So there's not really anything for us to look about. I guess the hypothetical question he's asking is like, how does the AEW landscape look without the Elite, but with CM Punk returning? Honestly, it doesn't sound amazing,
Yeah,
if all 4 leave, bro, like, but,
I don't want to imagine that, to be honest, because look, you guys know I'm a big CMFTR fan, right? Mm-hmm. I love what they do. I love their vision of pro wrestling, right? I don't want it to come at the expense of what the Elite have built, especially considering like that's going to alienate a lot of fans.
Yeah.
They're back, and now that means we're trading them for these guys. That's going to alienate a lot of people. I don't want to imagine that reality. And also, in general, an AEW without the Elite, whether you like them, love them, or indifferent, that just sounds kind of grim to me. they are AEW. They helped start AEW.
Yeah,
The-
so did Coda. You know.
No,
but
I need them gone. I saw that shit they did on BT with the House of Black shit with the turning off the lights and them getting scared. I said no, I need them
Monty,
gone.
the spirit of All In. The spirit of All In, man.
I told you, bro. Look, Cody said it. Cody said the spirit of All In died. You know, like All Out. I thought like the actual spirit of what they were trying to get at All In, like that died when Cody, the face of the Revolution, fucked off the WWE. You know,
No.
like,
It died when a fucking billionaire's son said, "I now going to start a wrestling promotion with my money." It's over, brother. They're not an indie. They're owned by Tony Khan. They ain't selling DVDs at the back of a truck, Money. It's over. They're on national television. It's a wrestling promotion. It'll be fine. Everyone will be okay.
You know what I mean? It's
Everyone
too
calm down. We got a year. Can everyone, Monty? I'm telling you, calm down. All right, you started calm. Now you're getting worked up. Now you're working me up. You see me here? I'm raising my voice. No need for this.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Everything's
you lost me about halfway through that.
Manny, everything's gonna be fine. Manny, calm down. All right.
Oh man, I'm chilling, man. If the Elite leave,
No,
I'm never watching them again.
Joe's like, it's gonna be okay. Manny, relax. It's like, Manny's like, what?
That's what I see a lot, right? When it's like,
And if you know me,
but
if you guys know me, I mean it. When I say I'm not watching another wrestler, I don't watch another wrestler.
Clearly.
Look. All I know is this. Obviously, I hear things. I'm fed things. I see where things are trending. But at the end of the day, the Elite are employed by AEW, and I'd like to think Tony Khan is smart enough to do everything in his power to make sure that stays that way for a long time.
Yeah.
Nah, I think he has a picture of CM Punk in his office.
Probably does, but you know.
Listen, a real promoter would make him shake hands. You know.
Yes. See, what I want is for them all to be in AEW. I want them all to be in the same place, all 6 of these guys. And yeah, you know.
Talking about in AEW or WWE, you know, there's, like I said earlier, there's not really any news regarding CM Punk and the Elite and stuff, you know. So, you know, well, CM Punk was at Battle in the Valley and got swarmed by, you know, queues and queues of fans that are trying to get pictures of him. You know,
coming back as a babyface, brother. He signed it. He took every photo. He's asked off.
Yeah, he should have wore a lucha mask like Bailey and Naomi did. You know, but he just braved it.
Yeah, that was hilarious seeing him just kind of casually chilling at the show. Dave Meltzer said that people like just didn't notice he was hiding in plain sight, and then eventually once it spread, it was like, oh shit, and like a bunch of people started lining up like right by him and stuff. I'd imagine because the block is hot for him right now, he kind of has to be nice publicly. So poor guy probably couldn't watch like the first 3 matches of the show.
The report said that once the show started, like security came and took everybody away.
Good. Peach in the comments said Tony Khan is too much of a dweeb to make the makeup, I fear. Hope not. My man Commodore Last said Punk was praising Nagata. He did. He was showing props to the 54-year-old Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, who won the Triple Crown Championship 2 days ago. Shout out to Yuji Nagata.
What a match that was. That may have been my favorite match of the weekend, honestly.
Might have been. That match was
definitely.
Bro, I said that and I got killed in the group chat earlier. You know, it's just what it is, man. You know,
it's great. It's great. Yeah.
Yuji Nagata's performance was like.
Manny didn't get killed for that in the group chat either.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna let him get that off. Yo, Monty, no one said anything to him after he said like.
No, me and Ash were going back and forth.
No, you weren't. Man, he was like, "That's the best match of the weekend." And we were just like, "All right."
Of course. Why did I take that seriously? That claim.
He made it act like people were like. Oh,
he wants to be this controversial figure. He's just like, you know.
It's why he ups the ante with his posts now, where like he'll be like, "Yeah, man." He knew better though than to tweet something to the effect of like, "Oh, Mercedes versus Kyrie, 2 stars." He knew he would have gotten killed for that. So
not watching it is kind of worse. That we're being real.
I agree. That took me off. That caught me off guard.
I saved that for the audio. I didn't save that for Twitter.
Yeah. Tweet a clip, Monty.
I didn't think Yuji Nagata had a match like that in him at this stage. He's one of my favorite Japanese wrestlers of all time. I haven't seen him wrestle like that literally in like 7 years, roughly 6-7 years. Love him. He's awesome. I don't particularly know what the motive is with giving him the Triple Crown title right before the big Keiji Muto show where Miyahara is going to be on at the Tokyo Dome where he could have held that belt. But I'm not the All Japan regular. Maybe this is better for their business than Kento. Who knows? But the match itself was sensational. I just wanted to make mention of it because I'm a big Nagata.
It was some amazing. Good, Manny. I know you watched this one. Good, mate.
There's nothing better than old fuckers that that can still go and just like to beat
No,
the
I
shit
love
out of
it.
each other.
I love it. I love it.
There was some great moments where he looked like, because he's lost a step, it added to the match. Like when Kento would like explode into action and just fucking like nail him with like 4 strikes in a row. The guy would fall down, he would climb back to his knee and get back to his feet. Like there was so much struggle and anguish in his face. He's so great, man.
I mean, me, you, and Monty, we all like pop for like the kind of washed wrestler that like guts it through and has a great match despite being washed. I think what it is also is because it makes the selling better.
It's the story. Yeah, like the way the match felt to me was Nagata would have success when either A, he went to Miyahara's arm, which he had gone to throughout the match, right? He'd gone to the arm. Like the first thing he did in the match was go to the arm, sub his armbar. And when Kento would stand in front of Nagata, he would always get himself in trouble. But he's such a cocky prick. Of course he would, right? He would like test the old man. When he would insert any kind of pace, Nagata would be all over people getting knocked from left to right. But he's wily, man. Whenever he was in trouble, he would go back to that arm, which was the first thing. If you go back and watch the start of the match, the first thing he does is go to the left arm. And it gets him through the whole match. So
he starts kicking it and everything. Like the crazy part to me was just like when Miyahara goes for the headbutt. You can hear the thud on the top rope. Nagata kind of no-sells it, then does the exploder off the top rope, and then Miyahara no-sells the exploder, does a German to his head, and then they go into like a crazy strike exchange, and I was just like on my feet, and I was like, man, how long you go to sleep? Man, I gotta work in a few hours.
Kento's had an incredible start to the year, man. I've seen most of this year. He's been great.
Genuinely,
every big match has been excellent.
There's another good match on there on that show. It's Shingo versus Aoyagi.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
Bro, Shingo's just on another level too.
He's Takagi.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of the best in the world.
Yeah, I know.
Man, yo, way Monty.
Manny said, I know. Manny's like, don't test me. I know what I'm talking about.
I will say, Monty, I know you are the belief that I'm an Okada hater, right? When I finally got to watching Shingo Okada, I was bowing at my laptop at the end. Like,
you just have these weird like. I don't know, man. Like, you have like these weird like phases on certain wrestlers, and it's like, bro, like, I don't know.
I tried to get Joe. I tried to get one on Monty's messages, and he just wouldn't go for it. I DM'd him. I said, I'm getting kind of tired of Speedball. he just no-sold it.
Don't get me started with Speedball, man. You see what they're trying to do with this man? They're trying to industry plan this man to having like another wrestler of the year.
Bro, it does feel like some industry plan shit. Like, I'm sorry, I can't lie to you.
I said industry plan, what, by fucking 4 or 5 different promotions and
yes,
shit.
yes.
No, it's because he's cheap and good. Like, that's what it is, bro. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's because,
what's your rate? $50. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, his rate for the star rating or quality of match you can have on an indie show. Like, I can imagine, you get a lot of bang for your buck with Speedball, because you can book like a big name and just put him next to Speedball, and you're like, sweet, there's my main event,
Where's the storyteller?
Listen, he's good, but I don't think he's just one thing. I think people, like I said, he's just cheap and he's just easy to get hold of. I think he's like anyone can kind of book him.
It's like Taco Bell,
Yeah, he's cheap.
I feel like you could say affordable, and it would have a much more positive.
Cheap sounds crazy.
What difference does it make?
Does it make? It sounds like you're kind of framing him a certain way. He's cheap.
Bro, I'm putting him over.
Nah.
I'm saying he's good though. Like,
You
this is
are.
what
I know
mean.
your intentions, Money. I'm just saying the
Yeah,
way
and
you're
also
presenting it.
what we focusing in on, like,
Well, I'm
garbage, innit? Like,
Let me tell you, man.
Monty said he's having fast food bangers. That's crazy.
Yeah, I saw the graphic for Speedball Kenta, and I nearly lost it at work. I said, "What the fuck is going on there at Impact? How they can get away with this kind of shit?" You know, they don't tell stories. You know, nothing's important there. They just use that Forbidden Door just to get good matches, just to trick people thinking Impact's good.
Hey, Manny,
they do, but like, you know,
man, I mean, to be fair to Impact,
or anything, you know,
bro, the Josh Alexander, Kenta, I mean not Kenta, Josh Alexander, Kushida program was over in San Jose at Battle in the Valley.
Yeah, that was more of Volador and you know, Rocky Romero going on. You know,
Nagata and Punk MMA challenge, Rob 199.
Don't want to see that.
Chris O'Brien, of course, Unpurist. We got all the guys in the live chat. 199, appreciate you. I promise TK doesn't want Unpurist on the bum. Oh, bro.
That would be incredible.
Could you guys imagine AO, Rob, and Chris having to neuter themselves and like talk in WWE speak? Like,
amazing.
Can't picture
being all polite with
superstars are
power,
awesome.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bam $5. Appreciate your backup. Have you heard what AEW locker room thought about Ariel and TK Twitter thing? Sorry, Monty and Joel, about the last question. Manny, I respect.
You have to apologize.
Yeah,
We were just.
What
happened was Monty and I just lashed out because we've heard about it so much. It's not actually your questions, for which just been assholes. But go ahead, Ian, answer the question. Answer the first question, mate, please.
That's kind of beast. So I kind of like when you guys get a little fired up.
Well,
Bam, I have heard, unfortunately, from a lot of people in AEW. I'm going to answer this question by saying this. The people who are most amused... What do you say?
Were they giving each other high fives?
No. I actually heard from both sides on this, unfortunately. The best way I can answer this question, Bam, is the people most amused by this were the fans on Twitter.
You didn't even say anything. Anyway.
Yeah. They didn't particularly, like, people didn't, like, they weren't, like, celebrating Tony fighting Ariel Helwani, you know?
No, freaking MMA geeks. Watch the MMA hour. So they do.
What?
Bro just comes on it and just says random sentences. This is what I want to get to. Jay White.
Pretty good.
He's in it.
Oh, I love that match.
Yeah.
Jay White, Eddie Kingston. Loser leaves town. Loser leaves the promotion. You know, loser can never come back. No, you know, we were just talking about stories. I think that's a pretty good one. Bro, I don't even want to talk about the angle that they did after. That was, we're not going to talk about it. I'm actively not going to talk about it. That match, though, it was really good, Joe.
It was tremendous, yeah. The ability that Jay White has to kind of portray whatever story he wants to get across with those awful villainous, kind of scowls and facials that he has, and Eddie took most of the match, right? You had the awesome kind of momentum shift when he snapped into motion and then he hit the fucking German suplex that was terrifying. That was an insane deal. But yeah, he was at the end of his run, and for the most part, from the first chop he bumped for, he was on the ropes. It was like we were watching it live, and I kind of compared it to like a boxer who gets knocked down in round one and never quite gets back his balance. Like he was never quite there. As the match wore on and after he dropped Eddie on his head, he was able to kind of hang in there. They traded chops a little bit, but Eddie took most of the match, which is not generally something that King will do. In fact, often he'll do the opposite. He'll honestly be too selfless at times in that front. But Jay White was like, I mean, this is a compliment to him as a heel, but he was like truly pathetic at times in that match, Like when he was like Eddie was beating him up and he refused to go have any kind of dignity or grace because he's Jay White. And it was great, man. I mean, he is that character. The word character is always like a weird, you can get lost in that stuff sometimes, but he embodies who that guy is as a villain, and he has found a way to sell in a fashion that is like only sympathetic when he does it for a really long time. Because for the most part, you're just looking at this guy. Look at this piece of shit, you know. He's like laughing and spitting and just being a monster of a human being. So I adored the match. I think those two guys are kind of made for each other in terms of their philosophy on the industry. And I think even in this little program with, you know, observer shoot clips and Twitter back and forths, I think you saw that these guys could have done this for a long, long time. But what we got, I'm more than happy with. It was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah,
I thought the build was really good.
Yeah.
And they did something that a lot of guys actually aren't able to pull off in wrestling, which is tell the story that they had building up the match, right? They actually told it in the match without like actively screaming out the plot of the story.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like some people, like they'll tell the story by just like, you know, monologuing or whatever. But no, just the way they work the match, like you can discern what exactly they were building here. I thought this match was like super mid when I first watched it live. Like I thought it was like literally like borderline nothing. And then I don't know, I just went back and saw it again. And I can't remember the last time that like I just rewatched a match like, you know, more awake and serious and like having this drastic of a different opinion. Jay White came in a desperate, broken man with nothing to lose, and he was painfully aware of it. And he worked the match that way. He knew he was on his last leg. Yep. And Eddie Kingston, fighting on behalf of all Japanese wrestling, you know, he just beat the shit out of him and then put him out of his misery and banished him out of there. Jay White stayed himself to the end, being defiant, you know, spitting on his fist, rejecting his last honorable, you know, whatever show of mutual brotherhood or whatever. And then Eddie took him out. Really good, like you said, with this, you know, Jay's storytelling when it comes to like the cackling and like just being like a, you know, just a maniac in there. I'm beginning to see what you've been saying, Monty. Like I buy that he's just this like crazed, desperate, broken dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just thought this was well done. I thought this was actually tied with the Mercedes match for best match at Battle in the Valley, to be honest with you.
It's funny how you can go from thinking it was just like aggressively okay to thinking it was match of the night potential. I thought I loved it as well. Just pretty much, I think Joe kind of like captured a lot of how I felt about the match. I wouldn't put it on the same level as Corey versus Mercedes because that match really like, you know, really did it for me, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it was really special. I think a lot of Joe White's performances, like I think when you watch wrestling, especially kind of the way that we do, like you come out of it with like an appreciation of the job he's done as a heel, and that there's not really many people that can pull off the things that he can in the business anymore. He's great, man. I love Jay White. He's probably like my favourite heel in the business, to be honest. I think he's great, and wherever he ends up, whether that be WWE, which it looks like he's apparently the favourite, AEW, I'm sure he'll do very, very, very well in either one of them. So, you know, and if he goes to Impact, they've got to give him like fucking 60% ownership or some shit. Do you know what I mean?
Give him the book, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Manny,
Manny,
where
were you at with it?
Did you skip this one, Manny?
Of course, I had to sit down and watch some real graps. You know, these guys right here just beat the shit out of each other. You know, I thought this was the best Jay White's looked in a long time. It's kind of sad that he's like meant for this like Americanized like wrestling, but then like he's gonna, if he does leave, he's gonna go to WWE, and I don't think he's really gonna have like the same kind of performance that he does usually. I think he's gonna have to wrestle down a bit, which kind of sucks because he's finally gonna be on US TV. But besides that, Eddie Kingston's a god. And I don't know how he does it everywhere he goes. I thought he was gonna lose multiple times, and I don't know if that's just because he loses all the time on AEW. Yeah. I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, man, is Jay White gonna beat him on it? Like, he's just gonna beat him, and then like Eddie Kingston's just gonna have to wrestle in DDT now. You know, kind of, you know. that's just my whole thing. It's just Jay White was great. You guys already just like
Yeah, no, I got it.
yeah.
It's also one of those matches that's like it's a single idea, like explored to the max. So once I fucking ramble for 5 minutes, I get this. We all got it and we understood. But I do think it was fun considering how his last few months have been to like get a reminder of what King's capable of with some real substance, you know. And look, there's definitely other factors at play there, and there's a lot of stuff that's working against him doing this on AEW TV right now. I sense, but it was nice as a fan of his to see him kind of, something that felt like a big deal. Like the crowd's response when this graphic came up on the screen was like, this was one of the things they wanted to see. Obviously, the main thing goes without saying is Monet, but this was one of them, and I am very much increasingly more and more open to like. We actually were talking about this earlier off air. We were talking about kind of the range of styles and like embracing everything for what it can be, the best versions of those styles. These two guys are very much in the modern like landscape. Two guys who very much are my preference in terms of wrestling. The way they approach it. I think Jay White is just such an incredibly mature wrestler. Like the way he thinks about what he's doing and what he tries to achieve out there, I think is so refreshing. And I know it's not for everyone. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just for me. The little I've heard him talk about what he does as a wrestler, I think it's like a really cool part of 2023 modern wrestling because he's kind of an outlier, I think, in a lot of ways. He's a true heel who, to me, his shtick isn't constantly telling you he's that. He is that, like I used the word monster earlier, and I know that in wrestling you kind of associate it with like big men, but he's a monster in the sense that dude seems like a truly like broken character, right? Like he's just evil. And when he kicked the Gorillas of Destiny out of Bullet Club and like the way he handled it, like without any like care, he was so cynical about it. Yeah, man, it's cerebral, and it's like I don't know. I just think he's very, very special. Obviously, Eddie Kingston's the fucking man. He's just a blast to watch. But I loved it clearly.
I want to say one thing about Eddie too is just like, man, he's just so great wherever he goes. Yeah, I think it's just a shame. It's just a shame that AEW hasn't utilized that he's like. The way he's able to take over a venue or the way people react when they see a graphic of him, even on Dynamite or AEW when his graphic pops up, people just lose their minds. And it just seems like they're never going to do anything with him. And it's just kind of disservice to him, even though like this is the biggest opportunity. He probably wouldn't be getting the same reactions he's getting if he wasn't on AEW. But it's like if they don't ever do anything with him, it's just I think it's going to be one of the biggest modern wrestling what ifs, if they actually went all the way with them. He's
interesting in that regard generally, I think, because in a weird way, while he did some great work, a lot of great work on independence, and I was, I had a great time watching him for a lot of that time, he's often felt like a guy who was built for an era that came before him, right? In a lot of ways, he feels like a throwback, almost like territory guy, a guy who could come in, depending on the location, he could be a hot baby face or be like this cocky heel, obnoxious heel. So he often felt like a kind of odd piece out in the wrestling scene that he was emerging in a lot of ways in the 2000s. He had some great work in, I don't want to understate that. But in the 2010s, you really saw that. Like his run in Ring of Honor didn't really work. He couldn't find himself. They had that weird run with Homicide and him. The Impact run never quite. I mean, they had him as a manager. How wild is that to think about now, right? They didn't think King could wrestle, and instead they had Hernandez in there wrestling. Like it's back on that. And even though I agree with everything you said, Manny, I'm just, as a fan, I'm glad that he got the last few years, if nothing else, right? Let's imagine he's peaked, which I do think increasingly feels possible. We'll see. Hopefully not. Still, man, he did some pretty cool shit that I don't think anyone saw coming a couple of years back. So that's cool if nothing else, right? I guess.
If you tell me, what do you want Eddie Kingston to do? Just be in nothing feuds and then maybe not be on a pay-per-view, or if he's hardly ever on TV, he just wrestles Pure Legends on a pay-per-view pre-show. I'd rather just do the pay-per-view Legends Pure thing. I mean,
yeah.
So what if I don't see him on TV every often, and as long as I get like a freaking Akiyama match once in a while, I think I'd rather just go with that. Yeah,
it's good shit, man. We all love Eddie. Obviously, we all would like Eddie to be doing more. Especially like us four, especially. People love him, man, and like Manny said, it will be a big what if they don't seem to kind of like at least experiment with really pushing him. Obviously he had the Jericho feud, but he's like seems like someone that Jericho wanted to work with at the time, and when Jericho was done with his feud with him, and Jericho had his fun with him, he's kind of like
The Sammy thing, right? The timing of the
Oh.
Sammy thing was brutal, man. Like,
yeah.
because the Jericho feud had ended, they were transitioning to him and Sammy, which already felt like a little bit of a relegation, but it happens,
Mhm.
And when that went down, like, it's never been the same since then. And again, I can't tell you if that's right or wrong because I don't work there. Like, if I watched it play out, I may agree with that decision. But watching as a fan, it has not been the same since then, which is a shame because it's been a while now. It's been, what, we had 6 months since then?
Yeah.
Too long, bro. Too long.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Can we-
super
can we-
chat. 1 minute. 1 second, man. Pylon's $2. What's Tony announcing on Wednesday? Any guesses? More guesses been all week. I think it'll be a streaming deal.
Forbidden Door and or the UK show, which I'm not totally convinced. Like, they might be the same thing, but it'll probably be something that's announced on commentary, and then everyone will tweet where was Tony Khan's announcement, and it will be explained that it was said by Tony Schiavone at hour one and a half, which has happened before. But I think the UK show could be something. And again, I think no one said this to me, but that does intrigue me as like an idea. Doing Forbidden Door in like a neutral spot when you consider that one of the main matches is going to be Omega and Ospreay is like I think a genuinely interesting event to try and figure out. Obviously, I'm biased, but I actually think it could be like a really cool deal.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But it would be pretty cool though, right? Like, to present it that way, like because New Japan here,
it's England, bro. Like, I know, obviously, like you just said, we're biased, but like England have notoriously great wrestling crowds, so it's just especially for AEW hasn't been here yet.
Right. New Japan sold about I think 7,000 tickets here in 2019. So it's not like the wrestling fan doesn't care about those, because they absolutely do. So that could be a cool spectacle, I think. But
yeah, man,
what about an official Ring of Honor TV announcement?
Could be interesting. Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
I'll pop.
Yeah, I'll pop, bro. Anything Ring of Honor. I'll message man. I'll message Manor. Like, we did it.
Take off my All Japan tracksuit and just put on my ROH one now.
Do you think there's any chance? Is there any chance this is like something bigger than these things, like Mercedes Monet or something like that?
No,
I don't personally, because I think usually when it's saying like really transformative big, they do that big push where it's like they make it very clear to you you're going to get something that's a game changer, quote unquote. I think he just pops himself with the graphic of Tony Khan as a major announcement. I think he just it's kind of it's one of his plays at this point, right?
I'm still waiting for that, Ring of Honor and New Japan kind of announcement. I've been asking reporters, I've been tagging them in tweets, like, what's going on, and haven't heard anything yet. So,
at least you're on the case, Manny. We'll find out soon enough.
Anyways,
Manny always gets to the bottom of these things,
Before we move on, I need to talk about one of the best matches that happened this weekend: Fred Rosser versus Kenta. That's fucking ruled.
I was gonna say,
Wait,
yeah, man. Go over it real quick. Go on. Do you think
Kenta was in his bag? He's not the Kenta of old, but he's in his old man. Get off my yard shit. And he just beat the living shit out of Fred Rosser, and I kind of felt bad for him at times. I thought Fred Rosser almost tore his groin when he did that crazy lariat onto the floor, and I just screamed. I said, "Holy shit! I think he might be done."
Mr. No Days Off?
I know. And I want to say Fred Rosser's better. Like, every time after one of his title defenses, I'm like, oh my God, he's better than I thought he was.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he keeps doing it. Yeah, I mean, New Japan strong champion. Or not, former.
No, former, yeah. He's good, man. I like the match quite a bit as well, to be fair. Maybe not quite where Manny was on it, Well, Fred Rosser, man. Fred Rosser, Kenta's Kenta, man. He's gonna do his thing, regardless. Obviously, tomorrow on Dungo Live, there'll be like a full Battle in the Valley preview review. They'll talk a bit more about the Kento and Nagata match. They'll talk a bit about the possibilities for Mercedes in Stardom, and even like the New Japan Women's division that they're obviously trying to build. And they'll get kind of more into it. That's kind of what we've only just touched on, Battle in the Valley, and obviously we had to talk about Mercedes because it's Mercedes. We talked about Jay White because obviously he's leaving. Are we all kind of under the assumption that Jay White's going to end up in WWE at this point?
Yeah, and To me, that, and I think I've said this on the show before, so I apologize for boring anyone, but to me, that is as simple as like, if Vince is in power creatively when this sale's done, you can only hope for the best because he could have
Yeah.
anyone in his hand. But if it's Triple H's promotion, whether you think that guy's a great booker, bad, or somewhere in between, there is no way he would not feature Jay. I'd be stunned if Jay White
Triple H versus Randy Orton. I was saying it in our group chat earlier, man.
Jay White versus Randy Orton.
No, Jay White, Randy Orton.
He's
Triple
going to be
H,
on
Randy
NXT.
Orton.
Yeah. No, the one
He's
you
gonna be
said
on
of
NXT wrestling for the NXT title.
Monty said Jay White and Rey Mysterio, and I was like, well, that may be a night to make that one.
Listen, those 3 matches are dropped. Listen,
he's great, man. I'm with you.
Real stuff. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Rey Mysterio. Give Jay White those 3 wrestlers.
He has no competition, man. Like in terms of the heel spots, the heel spot on the card. Obviously, Roman's not full time now, so let alone after.
That's not competition for anyone. It's Roman. Like,
right,
do you know what I mean?
Even Roman, he's not around, right?
Yeah, so, of course.
Who are their top guys under like 35?
Miz. No,
under 35.
I was gonna say. I thought you were just gonna say heels that they use a lot.
This is what I'm saying. It's like he's not even got like comparable guys in his age bracket to me. Like they need younger guys who are ready to be top guys, and he's obviously one. He's proven that elsewhere. So I think he's going to be golden. I
only just turned 30 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, it's incredible.
He's going to be fine, man, I think, unless obviously if Vince gets the reins of the pen again, then everyone's fucked pretty much. Jamie, obviously from Dumb Guy Live, we got the Muto show for tomorrow as well. Obviously that's on tomorrow, Muto's retirement show, so they'll be covering that as well. Stack show for Dumb Guy Live tomorrow, man. That's what we keep pushing it. It's like I said, it's my favorite podcast on the whole channel. So, I won't just say that. Plethora 199. Do you think Omega would leave if Punk returns? I don't know. I don't know.
My general take is, I think this is just my read, but I just think there's a lot of like maneuvering and posturing going on. My actual belief is like I'll believe when I see it. But that's my honest take. Like, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of different things at play here, understandably, and I get it. But I'll be surprised if it actually goes the way that it could, in theory, go. I would personally be very surprised. That's probably the best way.
How does Tony not like? The impression that I get is like when CM Punk left wrestling before, he had like a really bitter feeling towards it, and kind of like a begrudgment towards the business and stuff, and he didn't seem interested in it, and he hated talking about it and stuff like that. Like CM Punk's uploading like pictures of the guy saying well done and winning the Triple Crown Championship. Like he still has and obviously we've heard reports, and I think Dax has said it on a podcast. So he still loves wrestling. He wants to be a part of wrestling. So it's like I guess that he knows what he's got to do. To make that a reality, and it's just kind of like if you're Omega in the books and Punk comes with his hat in his hands and he apologizes and he reaches out with his hand to shake hands, it's like, come on, like what are we doing here? But obviously, if CM Punk's being stubborn and he's like fuck those elite guys, then that's when he gets messy. But if CM Punk's willing to kind of
that's why it's hard to like analyze it, is because it ultimately boils down to things that we just don't have an understanding of right now, right? Like what you said makes perfect sense, but it's a big if, right? Like we don't know how everyone involved handling it.
No idea.
Are the elite hearing that Punk's coming back without even being spoken to? Has there been a whole we don't know, and without that, it's very hard to kind of have a perspective on like they should or shouldn't do this. I mean, I think it's hard to comment on that anyway because ultimately it's their choice. Who gives a fuck, right? They can do what they want, but when we don't know anything, it's really hard, I find, personally. But
Tony has a lot of... Go ahead, Manny.
Look, Omega shouldn't be worrying about Punk, if you're fans. You should be worrying about that Kota Ibushi, he's a little off right now. He's over here telling Kenny about Golden Lovers matches in WWE and Roman matches in the freaking Tokyo Dome. That's the one you should be worried about right there, Kota Ibushi. He's going to get in Kenny's ear. That's all I was saying.
He's a wild card, man. He's a funny guy. I don't know what's gonna happen with Ibushi. Regarding Tony Khan's decision that he has to make, it's gonna be a big decision. I'm sure there's a lot of things at play, like you just said, Joe. A lot of things are actually at play actively. It is a lot of posturing. Where all the chips fall, I still don't know, and many people don't. And again, ultimately, I hope, just from a promoter standpoint, from a product standpoint, I hope that they can all, if nothing else, be in the same promotion at the same time again.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the best part of it is like, ideally, the even though that's maybe perhaps the best outcome, if we can just get everyone wrestling again in whatever form that takes, that's fine. Like, if the Elite don't want to be in the same promotion as Punk, that's completely understandable, and I promise they'll be okay finding work elsewhere. They're pretty fucking good. I think they'll be okay, you know. So like, I know we've been talking about this for 10 minutes, so I apologize, but at some point, it's like guys are going to make the decisions they make, and I'm looking forward to seeing their work when they do so. Ultimately.
Yeah, man. Mazfan84199, appreciate ya. Kenta Kingfish at the same show as Pong and no shooting. Yeah.
Bobby Fish part is very funny. Bob
Fish
Fish working an undercard match on the pre-show while the fight feed didn't even have audio, while Punk's like making his way to his seat is an incredible development. That extraordinary rivalry.
If Eddie Kingston, if this was the Eddie Kingston of even 3 years ago, he would have grabbed the mic and cut a promo on Mr. Phil Brooks after the match. He would have said something along the lines like, "I'll fight anybody. I'm a fighter. Even frauds who left my locker room, like CM Punk up in them stands," or something like that. And then he would just walk off. What would it build to? I don't know. You know, but yeah.
Fair. I also, while we were on that, this is worth knowing because I didn't say this, and this is actually important. Jordan in the chat brings it up. Like, I'm not at all. This is just me personally, but I'm not married to like the kind of mindset of either work with each other or like you're all frauds. To me, it's like they could be in the same locker room, be on the same program about doing a feud with each other. Does that make sense? Like, Jordan brings out in the chat, and I'm glad he did because it reminded me of that kind of talk. I don't think it has to be CM Punk works with Kenny Omega for 6 months, or everyone goes their separate ways. They could easily coexist on the show without actually doing segments together, which feels like the obvious median to find. But again, we'll see how that goes.
They've already got people in the locker room that don't like each other and stuff anyway. You know, there's people at TV. There's people. Yeah, as I said, there's people at TV every week in AEW that don't like each other and stuff. Same in WWE. But they're adults at the end of the day. Some act more like it than others. And it's just different personalities. It's just just how it was. Hopefully, the leader in the situation, Tony Khan, can kind of get things under control and and provide us fans with fucking some good wrestling, because that's what Punk brings to the table. I think that year that he came back proves that more than anything.
Yeah.
He's still got a lot to give the business, even though he's in his 40s and he's a little fragile. He's still got a lot to give, man.
I know. If these guys care about drawing and making money, I mean, I feel like this is something they'll do. And from the way Kenny does talk about wrestling sometimes, I think that thing does matter to him, drawing, and because he takes pride in that kind of stuff. And I think it'd just be a missed opportunity on everybody's part if they just say, we're not going to do this match that everybody wants to see, because everybody wants to see the trios match, and they think that trios match could literally main event the pay-per-view.
The ceiling's highest. In terms of Punk coming back, that's clearly like the biggest thing you could do. Like, there's no doubt about that, and that's clear. I guess what I'm getting at is like, there still could be a happy medium between that and the Elite leaving, right? Like, in an ideal world, Manny, yes, I agree, but even if they don't want to do that, which I think is understandable considering everything that went down and the way it went down, they can feud with the guys they like on both sides. I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of money.
Yeah, man.
Everyone's going to be okay.
You work around the people you don't like and the situations. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's hopefully they'll make it happen. Talking of drama, Ariel Helwani's MMA hour was very.
Oh my god!
It was interesting, man. How people talking about it. It was all popping off literally like a couple hours before we came on the air. So I ain't really seen too much of the backlash, but Ariel said some things. Obviously, he was on SmackDown and he was on Elimination Chamber. But when he was on SmackDown, then he was in the crowd and he was like, on the broadcast and all that kind of stuff. Tony Khan tweeted at him, calling him a fraud and he's not a journalist and yada yada yada. And Ariel replied and called him a snowman and fucking. And Tony's reply to that was. I can't even remember now, to be honest.
It was good
It
luck
weren't,
with
it
the
weren't amazing. But anyway,
yeah. It was
so obviously Ariel's got his MMA Hour kind of podcast that he does, and he always kind of addresses these things, like pretty much. And he was just talking about his weekend, and he said a lot. He said a lot. I don't really know where to start with it, so I'll just kind of go back to the thread that I tweeted earlier. I mean, but one of the main things that he did reiterate many times throughout his rant about how much he enjoyed his weekend and then getting into the tweet and stuff. He reiterated many, many times that he's not a pro wrestling journalist. He's never claimed to be a pro wrestling journalist, and he's an MMA journalist. And there's a distinction there. And all he does in wrestling is interviews, and the WWE asked him to do something, and he thought about it, and he thought it would be fun, so he'd done it, and blah blah blah. And he's just popping himself basically. Again, like I said, he's never claimed to be a pro wrestling journalist.
What makes a journalist? Is just like if you break stuff or
searching, actively, I would say like actively trying to gather sources and information to break news and report stuff. So like in Ariel's case,
if you want to break it down, he was trying to report, get stuff out of Tony. When he did have him on,
that's not reporting, bro. He was just interviewing him. There's a difference. He's not like doing like the Adrian Wojnarowski, Dave Meltzer deal. You know what I mean, man? He's not like sifting, behind the scenes to be able to break out scoops for wrestling.
Yeah, like interviewing people isn't like reporting.
He has broke stories though, right?
Not really. He's tweeted a couple press releases. I think he debunked the. I think he was one of the people anyway, but helped debunk the whole Saudi Arabia sale thing. He's got Nick Khan on speed dial, hasn't he? And he works a bit. Like what?
I don't know.
I'm convinced he did like a couple breaking, and it was the kind of belief was that obviously we know where his connection is. That's that. But I don't. Phil in the chat said Roman missing day one. I don't remember the specifics, but I'm convinced he's broke stories. But again, I don't ultimately care. I'm just for the sake of conversation. I think he has broke wrestling stories before. Whether they were the kind of stories where he'd investigate or he'd just been told, "Can you put this out there?" Or no, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because he references. He's like, "Oh, they've sent me." They send me press releases and they send me things sometimes, and I'll put it out, but I'm not actively doing journalism in terms of like wrestling. It's like I interview people. BT employed me to interview people. It's just kind of like what I do, Anyway, this is what he's saying. Do you know what I mean? He said that he said when he first saw the tweet from Tony Khan calling him a fraud, he said he had to check it multiple times to make sure that it wasn't a troll. Because he said he just couldn't believe it, sort of thing. But that he was that he would care, sort of thing. He said that Tony Khan's just mad because he gave him an all-time bad interview, and the interview made him look like he can't handle those kind of situations. Talking about the questions that he was asking him about All Out and stuff like that. He just kept making kind of digs at him all the time throughout about a 30-40 minute period on the podcast. You mentioned how with the Tony Khan interview, he didn't even ask for the Tony Khan interview. AEW reached out to him and offered it to him and didn't tell him about anything that he couldn't ask. He said that Tony Khan doesn't know anything about journalism. He has no idea, and that he's no different from Dana. He said that he thought about replying to. He said he thought about replying to Tony Khan's tweet with "Dana's not going to shag you, mate." He did the whole if it wasn't for your old man kind of thing, you know, that everyone does with Tony Khan, it's a bit played out now, to be honest. But he did that whole thing, like, if it wasn't for your dad, and he kind of went on a little bit of a rant where he's like, everything that he's done in MMA, he's built himself, blah, 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 and he's proud
The
of
whole
it.
self-made deal, right?
And he wasn't going to let Tony Khan try to get over on him on the internet because, by God, he needs it. What else did he say? He said the old Ariel would have let this get to him. Which, you know, to be fair, if you know the old Ariel, then probably true. Not to say that, yeah, well, I won't go, you know. Ariel said that when he saw Michael Cole backstage at Elimination Chamber, he told him, wait until you hear how I introduce you.
Nasty. Nasty.
And apparently, people backstage in WWE were all popping at the tweets and everything, and people giving their real high fives, and they were laughing at Tony Khan, and it was this whole like thing where people backstage just found it all very funny and entertaining, and they were just kind of popping themselves with it. Yeah, man. Ariel versus Tony Khan. It seems like it's definitely a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing that's happening.
I don't know. I mean, I get it, what you said, and it makes sense to me. And my actual instinctual reaction is probably didn't have to tweet that during SmackDown. You know, like if you ask my gene, but ultimately it's Twitter. You know, it's there's not, to me anyway, and I could be missing some great detail or scope in this, but to me it's a very kind of hollow, uninteresting debate. It's a guy saying that someone's not a real journalist, and the journalist replying, "I'm not trying to be one." And at that point, to me, it's like, okay, well, I guess it's the end of the conversation. You know, it's like,
yeah, literally.
That's where I personally, I just don't. It doesn't move me. But my real
he reiterated it so many times as well. He was like, "I am not a pro wrestling journalist. I've never claimed to be a pro wrestling journalist. I'm an MMA journalist." Blah 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 blah.
The real hook here is what Manny thinks. As I'm looking at his face, and he looks just distraught with this even coming up. Look at Manny. Good, Manny. What you think?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've listened to Ariel all the time, and I mean, there's certain things where he just talks to certain, like he usually just has conversations with people. With Tony, he was trying to get like real statements out and like facts like about what happened on certain things, and even like with Cody, he was asking Cody about the brawl for. So like, I mean, when you're saying that he's not trying to like do journalism, I mean, to me that's what he's trying to do. He's just trying to get the facts down, what's going on. So I mean.
I know, I agree with that. I think
because I mean, just listen to any other interview where he's just having normal conversations about people's day-to-day life, but then when it's like,
it's an interview, man.
Yeah, but it's in fairness though, he's trying to figure out the answer to a specific topic in a very journalistic manner. He isn't doing an interview in a way of like, what did you think of this? Yeah, you're not like he wasn't doing like an informal conversation. He was interviewing you in a very specific manner. So I do think that's where you get to that. You're in kind of the semantics here of what is a journalist, which is not saying I want to litigate on this podcast. But I mean, I think that's the debate here. But,
I'm trying to think back to the interviews I've seen. Dude, he talked to Seth Rollins, and he basically was asking, like, are you happy? Are you happy with your creative? Are you happy that Vince is gone? Have you spoken with him since? Things like that. These are questions that, like if Tony was in the situation, he would have said no comment. Now, that's not me saying how Tony handled it was right or wrong, but I mean, I've seen Ariel ask like testy questions in interviews with people.
He actually asks questions that people fucking wonder about. You don't ask him like, "Oh, what do you think of Texas this weekend?" and all that fucking played out bullshit interviews that we see in wrestling and MMA and just in sports in general all the fucking time, man.
Bro, he basically asked Seth like, do you resent Roman Reigns being in the spot that you want to be in?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know. I mean, I listened to the one with Seth where he just talked about Bray and all that, where he gave the answer where I don't want to wrestle like Bray anymore because he fucking killed my career. So I mean, he gets stuff out of him. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's just times where I've seen him like just have regular conversations. And I know we were just arguing about the semantics of just like what a journalism is, saying he doesn't get stuff out of people. I mean.
Because what in a lot of ways, what we're describing there is someone doing journalism. Like I think that is to me. Like again, now this is going to go into a direction that this conversation has gone generally, which I don't think really was either Tony or Helwani's. What they were just shit talking. So why what's the point exploring it beyond that? But I do think the interviews he does are, to me, as someone who's not educated on the topic, they seem to resemble journalism to me. Now, he's much more clued on what that would be than I am, but that would be why I think there's like a debate about what he is in pro wrestling. Ultimately, who cares?
Fair.
Yeah,
Look,
who cares ultimately, right? Like, it's whatever.
And
that's why I think the debate.
I knew their relationship, and plus, like, there's no point in talking about like their relationship too, because if you listen to their interview, like Ariel straight up says, "I know you don't like me." That was the first question he told him, and then that just threw Tony on. Right? Yeah. And threw Tony off, and Tony was like,
"It is personal. It is personal."
And that's why it almost seems silly for us to like. And everyone's doing this. And I'm not saying that we're doing it now, so I'm not criticizing anyone, but like using their thing to pivot into, like, let's talk journalism in wrestling. It's like, what's the point when ultimately they're just arguing because they don't like each other? Like they don't give a shit about that as a topic in this regard. They're just arguing. That's to me, it's that simple.
And like the craziest thing too is you just know like the more the interview went on with Tony, like it just seemed like he was getting more frustrated because Tony was trying to talk about Memphis or whatever, and because he said Memphis was his favorite era of wrestling, and that threw Ariel off, and Ariel's like, really? That's like your favorite era? And then they keep going, and then Ariel's trying to get him to talk about Nick Khan, and then Tony is just like, why are you asking me about like Nick Khan? You know him. I don't. And that's just when it went on. I was like, why are you asking me for my opinion on him? So I mean, they just didn't like each other from the get go. I don't know why Tony wanted to do the interview with them, and I don't know why Ariel accepted it.
He thought he could just go on there and do what he does on every fucking interview and just do like a PR, and just do a PR run. And Ariel was like, "No, I'm going to try and actually fucking have a conversation with you and ask you things that people want to hear you talk about."
Usually when Tony's asked a question, if it's something he doesn't really feel like getting into, he'll act like he's getting into it and just kind of spin it into. But we have a really great show tonight, AEW Dynamite. We're live in Massachusetts, and I got a great card. I really love the card we put together, and And look, he's a promoter. That's his right and prerogative to do that. Frankly, when it comes to this whole topic, what I have to say to everybody listening is, if you are someone who is like personally, emotionally invested between the beef of Ariel Helwani and Tony Khan, I hope you get emotionally better. I pray for your well-being. I couldn't bring myself to particularly care either way, outside of just being like moderately entertained at some of this on the outside. But it already stopped being funny like a day ago, and now it's just like a thing that's existing and being talked about, and I don't really care. To be honest, everybody involved kind of looks like marks to me in different ways, shapes, and forms. Ultimately, Tony's just fucking angry because he feels like a big media prominent person is being pro WWE and anti AEW, and then kind of like openly, handshaking them and high fiving them, and that's fair to a degree. And Ariel Helwani is just, he's just being a happy kid who's happy he gets to be on a WWE show, and he's like being really like blatant about it and stuff. And again, it's just mudslinging between two guys. I don't really give a fuck. I don't really care. I just don't really care.
I always talk about this, but the funniest Ariel thing ever was when he was on the Bill Simmons show. I say this all the time, but it was just so funny. Like, seeing my Bill Simmons wanted to talk about AEW, and then Ariel said, like, it's really fallen off since the All Out Brawl, and then Bill Simmons was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It's because Ariel said the inmates run the asylum, and Bill Simmons was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That's what it is." It's just
Manny, you could speak on this better because I remember you brought this up to me when this whole thing, I guess, started is the wrong word, but like when they did the interview and Helwani said it was the most frustrating interview. I remember you talking about, like, as a fan, not loving the way Tony does those interviews, right? I remember we talked about this on the air. Right?
Oh, bro,
I told you the best interviews is Dave Meltzer, because Dave Meltzer just knows not to talk to him about like AEW sometimes, and he just talks about historical stuff. Yeah. And the other one is, I always tell everybody, if you want to get into Tony's head about wrestling, listen to his the Way of the Blade, when he talks about Ted DiBiase and I forgot who it was, Ted DiBiase versus somebody, and he just spends the whole time not even talking about AEW, just the way the match broke down and the way that, like, it was just awesome. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Tony's really good at. So when you get him on like the media row, it's just kind of just like don't listen to those interviews at all.
Because
It makes sense.
again,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Where you go.
I was gonna say because Tony's a big fan, right? And he's very
Right.
knowledgeable about wrestling and wrestling history. So you get him going on that and just have a talk about wrestling. It's gonna be a fun listen.
Mhm.
You know, when he has to go promoter mode and also like, think about all the legal ramifications of the things he says and things like that. That's when he kind of gets like more reserved and, like he just kind of, shuts down. And again, to a degree, I get it. So, it just is what it is. It is what it is.
But
Yes.
that Dan Levitard one was crazy though.
A lot of it is good, man. Sorry, my bad.
No, I was gonna say the Dan Levitard one was the first time where you actually saw an open Tony, where he was just frustrated. I don't know what WWE might have did that weekend in particular that made him kind of go crazy and just rant about a war and all that because he never does that before. So
they absolutely signed somebody. They absolutely signed somebody.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think
$2 super chat, Kimo Sabi. Kenny has nothing to gain working with CM Psycho. That's objectively not true. Short on Spurs, $5. I totally get the frustration when Tony goes into promotional mode. It's corny as hell, but I saw the Triple H and Khan interviews and like, come on.
Yeah, no, I swear. I mean, I think part of it is honestly that because Tony is so kind of so often doing the interviews, the guys, Helwani's more likely to ask him because in a lot of ways he feels more accessible in that regard, right? Tony's doing media interviews every week. Clearly, it's not the case. And I think that's part of the weird kind of dynamic where it feels different to a lot of fans even. That's not fair necessarily, but I do think that's a real factor here is how often Tony is doing these. I think that's relevant to this.
100%. So Jordan gets it where he says,
TK
got to get better at doing his little PR dance and navigating around tricky topics if he's going to be in the media doing interviews as often as he is. It's like the thing that kind of I won't say it went under the rug because like I mentioned it then, I put it out on Twitter as well and it's been talked about on Twitter, but it's like AEW reached out to Ariel for the interview. So it's like if Tony Khan is actively getting AEW's like media people to reach out to these outlets and be like, I have Tony Khan, and then it's like most outlets probably will be like, yeah, like we would be like, yeah, Fightful, Dave, whoever you call it, they're gonna be like, yeah, because Tony Khan's obviously the owner of AEW. But like, if he's gonna do it and actively put himself out there, then he needs to be. It can't just be these hollow promo fucking runs. Do you know what I mean? If he's going to do that, then I would probably scale them back because otherwise it's just the same shit. It's like I remember when AEW was first starting, I could kind of like take it. You know what I mean? Like I could watch Tony Khan interviews. I'm not even to be a dick or anything, but I can't get through a Tony Khan interview anymore. I can't do it because when it sounds like he's like cutting promos on me at times, like you know what I mean. It's just like I can't do it anymore.
Monty, to Jordan Patu's point, he's talking about like he should hold on.
While he's gone, my whole take on this thing too is just like I don't know. I feel like when you're like a major journalist or like you have a podcast and say nobody knows anything about AEW and you just go on your shows and just completely hit the nail on the head where you don't say it's a good show, you just say like it's like run like shit, and you keep bringing up the same things like what happened at time quality show. Just like you're kind of just like I don't know how to explain it. Like oh dang, it's gonna kill me. I don't know. That's what I was trying to get. Like the way the journalists talk, starting journalists that have like a big say in the open community that have no idea what AEW is and they want to get into it, and you're constantly bashing and saying, "Oh no, this is shit." This is go watch WWE. I think that's more most people have a problem with. It's like you have a voice and you're talking about an alternative. More money for the boys, and how are you guys saying that when you're constantly going on your platforms and being like, "Oh yeah, because you don't like Tony Khan. This place is shit. I wouldn't just watch WWE." All that.
And I think again, in the case we're talking about here, that kind of goes back to that core truth, which is that interview started in a certain way based on what happened before it ever happened, right? And that's like before that's where, like, I don't think Tony should have been very aware when getting an interview that there were going to be questions that wasn't as simple as like who's Jungle Boy wrestling on Dynamite, or whatever. But like there was also a clear friction at the point you mentioned earlier, Manny, about, I know you don't like me or whatever. So it's just, again, there's a bigger topic surrounding it, but ultimately it's just two guys kind of talking shit to each other, which is fine.
Yeah. Couple super chat. No, we've got one super chat because we've done the short time so I was on. Okay. Sprouts $4.99. Appreciate it. Nobody's working those WWE panels for free. No matter how you slice it, Ariel is receiving some kind of cash for them. Bro, he's never denied receiving money. Like on the MMA hour earlier, he literally says that he's getting paid for like his WWE voiceover thing and stuff. So, don't really know what you're cooking with that one, to be honest, brother. But appreciate it nonetheless. Yeah, man. You might maybe laugh as well. Like in the MMA hour, they were like, he's like co-host with like, he teamed at WWE now, and he's like, oh fuck it, he's like, if that's the way it's gotta be, that's the way it's gotta be. Pylon's $5. Tony has disliked Ariel since he took the unapproved MJF interview.
Probably.
Who knows, man? It's like AEW. I ain't even. It's not even about this. It's kind of more of like an AEW and the media approval, is it? But I mean, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I think they already.
I don't even know what you're
it
referencing, which is incredible.
You don't know. It's anyway. Let me just read these raw spoilers. Joe, feel some dead air.
All right, mate. Folks, we hope you enjoyed the nice hour of professional wrestling talk we gave you there. We apologise if you were bored by Manny and I trying to define the term journalist, which both of us are woefully unqualified for. But we tried our best, didn't we, Manny? We did the best we could, mate.
Well, Draco called me a wrestling expert.
Sorry, Astrid. I apologise for trying it as someone who's woefully uneducated on the matter. Manny, of course, very qualified. I'm glad he got to speak on it. Yes, exactly. I apologize, folks.
I want to talk about something.
Go ahead, man.
No, it's more. It has nothing to do with wrestling, but
well,
I don't know, man. I'm watching.
Right in.
I'm watching the '98 finals right now, and man, this shit sucks, bro. I mean, like these guys, like horrible shot selection. Everybody just stands in the corner.
The NBA finals?
Yeah,
it's a good series.
I'm watching. I don't know that everybody's taking bad shots. Like everybody's holding the ball, dribbling around, looking for a mid-range shot. It's like,
yeah, get that mid-range off, Nick. Listen, at the end of the day, that Jazz team beat Shaq and Kobe in the conference finals. They swept them niggas. And that Lakers team went on to be a dynasty in the next decade.
Look what we've come to. We're talking about fucking.
It's Manny's fault.
Talking about NBA finals from the 90s. I think that's. I think if that's a sign. That's a good sign.
Wait.
Wrap it up. What are you trying to get off of you?
Yeah, I was trying to say we drew a really nice house for this worldwide episode, a really big one. We peaked in the 160s. So I do want to thank everybody for that. And if you have not liked the video, please like the video. We're at 55 and we have over 130 people watching. So please like the video if you haven't already. Yeah, it was just a quick reminder to like the video. And obviously, if you want to get more in-depth talk about Battle in the Valley, Yuji Nagata's Triple Crown Championship win, a preview of Keiji Muto's retirement show, all that stuff in depth is going to be tomorrow's Dumb Guy Live, which you guys should definitely give a shot. Murph of Dumb Guy Live made his reappearance to the main show last Thursday. Really, really fun show with Murph and Anna. So if you haven't checked out that show, I mean, it's still relevant and topical. You should check that out. So just, yeah, man, Dumb Guy Live. Anna's probably going to do the show this week again on Thursday. So a lot of good stuff coming for the channel.
Yeah, man, as always, keeping a stacked schedule. That's what we do. We put out the work rate, WrestlePurists, you know what I mean? Got Tuesday for the Puro and the Joshi fans. That's what that mainly for. But even if you're just a wrestling fan, you can get some Dumb Guy Live. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow's one, like I've been saying, is stacked because we've got Battle in the Valley. They're going to be talking about, obviously, Mercedes debut and all the stuff coming out of that. There's the huge Nova show that's happening tomorrow. They'll probably be reviewing that because it will be earlier. Well, in the States, it's at like 3 a.m. tonight, isn't it? Yeah. They're not for me and Joe. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning or some shit like that. So I want them, like Jamie says here, I I want them go live tomorrow. They need to be doing 1 million views. Big show, big show, and they're gonna talk about all the good shit.
Pedro, let me tell you something. No, I don't care about the 3-point shot. My whole thing is spacing. There is no spacing on the court. Everybody's just holding the ball. Never mind. I can just
answering random live chat, bro. What are we doing? Definitely time to get out of here. Okay, tomorrow don't go live. Wednesday's open day. Thursday, not 100% sure who's going to be on the WrestlePurists podcast this week, but I'm sure we'll figure it out soon enough. Friday on Purists as always. All that good shit. Please subscribe. We're very close to 2.5k, which isn't a crazy number or anything, but I want to get to it. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. If
we have a super chat. Last second super chat.
Okay. Israel's Cash App is Rollins. Spike Lee $2. Hunter didn't do the right thing. Well,
It's a great movie.
Jesus, man. Like if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate all the super chats as we always do, and enjoy Raw if you're gonna watch it or whatever else you're doing with your evening. I've been Montel, WrestlePurist, Joe Hulbert, Manny the Hooper, Ibu of WrestlePurist, as many of you know as Backup Hangman. It's been WrestlePurist Worldwide, and where's the outro? Peace.